Welcome everyone. So nice to see you. I am in sunny Minnesota where we finally get a reprieve from 100-degree heat, which is very exciting. Ooh, Seattle, Canada, Virginia, Texas, India, Berlin, Spain, Germany. Amazing. I'm so glad that you can join us today. And we've got people tuning in from YouTube as well. That's awesome. I'll take a moment and as people roll in, I will introduce myself. My name is Jessica, and I am the coordinator for community and content for Bullet Journal. And I get the distinct joy of supporting this community on Bujo U. If you didn't know, Bujo U is basically like an ad-less social media platform community where we can come together and just focus on talking about bullet journaling. And this is where we have events each month. We talk about different themes related to bullet journaling and explore that via posts and live events and discussions. So that is something that I've gotten a lot of joy from, and I hope you have as well, digging into the practice of bullet journaling, no matter how long you've been doing it. So what we do each month is we take time to do a monthly ritual where we go from one month into the next. It is something that we just slot time for so that we can put it all together. So if you have a notebook with you, that's great. If you don't and you just started bullet journaling, that's totally fine too. Wherever you are at, I hope that you will just listen for what is useful to you wherever you're at. That's what we're hoping for today. So to get started, we do have homework that I will pass over to Ryder to talk about in a second. But throughout this, if you have questions, please feel free to add them in the chat, talk to each other in the chat, and then when we have time, we will ask them out loud and Ryder will pitch in with his input. But I'm just so glad you're here, and we'll take a couple moments here for Ryder to tell us what was the homework coming into this, and how does it all fit together in this monthly ritual?
Yes, first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time, doing something a little bit new here. So welcome YouTube as well. Because we have a larger audience today, I want to back up and explain some of the basic stuff around our monthly ritual as well to make it as inclusive as possible. So we're here to do the monthly ritual. What's the monthly ritual? Well, I think one of the things that happens to a lot of us is that life gets very fast, very often, and all of a sudden we find ourselves with all these responsibilities and feel overwhelmed and everything. And the monthly ritual is there to pause and stop and take a real look at our lives through the lens of our notebook. So today I'm going to be walking through that process, how I found a way to do that regularly. I want to share that. So I'm going to explain how we're going to do this step by step, but I'm actually going to be doing it alongside with you. The monthly ritual is here to keep us all accountable, myself included. So we're all going to be going through this together. I want to set the expectation that there will be quiet time here as I actually do the same thing that I'm directing you to do as well. So we'll be doing it together. And as Jess said, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat below. Okay, so the monthly ritual basically consists of looking at all of the different collections that we have. So the first thing that we're going to do before we move forward is that we're going to move backward. So the first thing that I like to do during my monthly ritual is to make sure that my last month's monthly log is complete. And by that, I mean, I want to make sure that I fill out my monthly timeline first. So for those of you who are not familiar, the monthly log consists of two separate templates. On the left-hand side, classically, it has a timeline, which some people use as a calendar. And on the right-hand side, it has the monthly task list. So in this case, what we want to do first is make sure that our monthly log's timeline is as complete as we can make it. And there's a really specific reason for that. Once we're done completing our timeline, we are going to then take time, or we would, and this is where the homework comes in, to journal about the previous month. So what I would like to invite you to do now is to turn back to your last month's monthly log and make sure that your timeline is as up to date as possible. And you can do this using your Google Calendar as well as your daily logs, your weekly logs. It's there to help you have a very accurate timeline of what actually did happen. And that's something that I want to slow down on. Oftentimes, what we think will happen is very different from what actually does happen. The timeline is there to help us have a really accurate record of what actually did happen. And as nice as it is to keep it current in real time, oftentimes by the end of the month, we've skipped some days. So we're taking the time to stop and actually think about what happened, what actually did happen. And the timeline is filled up with what is most noteworthy for that day, good or bad. What is something important that you need to remember about that day? This is the day where you started your job, ended the job, started a relationship, ended a relationship, started the diet, and so on. You know, a day that you felt really good or a day you felt really dark, something that you don't want to forget. And there's such limited room there, and that's kind of part of it, right? There's such limited room in this space that you can only put one or two things. So we're going to focus on that. Okay. So now I'm going to take the time to fill up that timeline. I'm going to take a few more minutes here before I move on. So sometimes people might think that nothing happened during the day or you had a slow week. And part of this process is really taking the time to consider, even on those days, what was most noteworthy to you. This is part of the Bujo practice, to really take the time to slow down and think about our actions and our experiences. Even if it's not the most exciting day, surely something was worth remembering. Okay. Now, you can take as much time as you need to complete each part of this, but I want to make sure that I get through the whole thing, so we're going to keep on going here. Now, the next step is what the homework was, essentially. Once we've updated our monthly log and our timeline, part of the reason why we do this is to help us jog our memory. It's easy to forget what happened, even if it was something important. But now we've taken the time to actually think about what happened. And chances are something came up. We kicked up some dust. So what I like to do at this point is take some time to do a written reflection. What is a written reflection? You can think of it as journaling, but focused journaling. And what you're journaling about is something about the last week or about the last week in general. So if you want, the idea is that the weekly log, in this case, or the weekly reflection, is a prompt. You're just writing about what happened last week. And in so doing, you're going to take a lot of the things that you wrote down and probably unpack them. Things will have come up during the time we updated the timeline. And now's the time to think about it. How do you feel about the last week? What came up? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? Bulleted lists are the beginning of bullet journaling, right? They're there to help us capture our thoughts. And some of those thoughts need to be expanded on. And this is one of the times we have an opportunity to expand on those thoughts during this weekly written or in this case, a monthly written reflection. I do it weekly as well. So that was the homework. For the monthly reflection, I'm thinking about the month gone by. That usually takes me between, I would say, 20 minutes to an hour, depending on the month, right? So unfortunately, we will not be able to do that now. That is the homework, but I wanted to show you where this fits in to the monthly ritual, just so you have an idea moving forward how this can fit into your own practice, if this is something that interests you, right? Now that you've updated your timeline and jogged your memory, you can write about it. You can write about anything you want. And oftentimes this is a really wonderful way to relieve stress or to get clear about what you want to do in the month ahead. And this is where the next step comes in. Now we're going to set up our new monthly log for the new month, in this case, July. So we're going to take the time now to actually set that up. For those of you new to bullet journaling, The left page, again, is a timeline. We're going to set this up, but we're going to leave it blank, right? We'll put the dates in, but no events because we're not pre-planning here. And then on the right-hand side will be the task page. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but right now I'm just going to set up my monthly log. Okay, so I just set up my new monthly log. So you can see this here. In this case, I used the stickers for the Edition 2 that are included in our notebook to make this faster. As you can see, my monthly log took me, 2-3 minutes to set up. Now it's ready to go. It's ready to populate. So here's the timeline. And then here are my task lists. I divide them by personal and professional tasks, which is what we're going to do next. We're going to fill these out. Okay, so what do we do with this monthly log? The next step here is that we're going to be going backwards throughout the entire previous month at looking for open tasks. For each one of those open tasks, we're going to ask ourselves we're going to ask us 3 questions in this order. Is it vital? You can think of vital things as responsibilities that you would get in trouble for if you didn't do them. So pay the rent, mortgage, student loans, that kind of stuff. If something is vital, then it gets migrated into your new monthly task list. If it is not vital, you go down to the next question, which is, does it matter? Does it matter to you or to someone that you love? This is a little bit of a trickier question because sometimes it's hard for us to discern whether or not something matters to us, right? But it's a really important question to keep asking ourselves. It's often easier to know whether something matters to someone that we love, so we keep doing this thing for them. But even then, it's worth slowing down and considering. For other people, we might be doing something for somebody else, which they didn't ask us to do, or they don't even appreciate because they don't know that we're doing it. So maybe communicating with them, taking this moment, be like, oh, maybe I should ask them whether or not I should be doing this. That's important, right? Once a month, we're slowing down. And then when it comes to us, do you really still want to take those trumpet lessons? Go on this dinner? Oftentimes, we burden ourselves with things that mattered to us at one point, but no longer do. And that's okay. Like, we change. But for some reason, if you're anything like me, we have all these stowaways that keep following us day after day, week after week, month after month. And it's a whole list full of responsibilities that don't actually matter to us anymore. So to make sure that doesn't happen, we use our monthly ritual to make sure that we curate the things that we claim matter to us. So we just simply ask ourselves for an open task. Does it matter? Yes or no? If it does matter, then we migrate it. But if it doesn't matter, we have a third question. When you start bullet journaling, you may not be sure as to if something is vital or if it matters or not. So another question we can ask that can help us switch our context a little bit is, are there any consequences for me not doing this thing? If I didn't do this thing ever, what would happen? It's a different way of approaching the same kind of question. And oftentimes you'll find if you can't think of a single consequence, then chances are it's really not worth your time. So if it's not vital and it doesn't matter and there are no consequences for not doing it, why is it still in your task list, right? And that's really what these rituals are for, this filter. So if there are no consequences for you not doing it, then you can safely assume that this is a distraction. It's something that's just keeping you busy but not adding any value to your life. If you can think of consequences, then chances are you figured out why it matters or why it's vital. And then that gets migrated as well. So every month we go through this and ask ourselves these questions for all the tasks that remain open in our notebook. We are trying to migrate as little as possible. oftentimes people are like, I don't want to have to rewrite things. That seems like a huge drag. To me, I feel like that's a feature and not a bug. Right? We have to stop and think about why we're doing what we're doing. And that allows us to very quickly reduce the things that we're working on. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to flip back and take a second pass through our previous month and ask ourselves these 3 questions for all the open tasks. And anything that does not pass the filter gets marked as irrelevant, which is a line that strikes it out. Every time we strike something out in Bujo, that is a victory. That is you granting yourself permission to no longer spend your time on this thing that no longer matters. You have defined something as not being meaningful. And that's what we're celebrating. So that's what we're going to take some time to do now. For those of you who are asking, where do I begin with this process? The way I like to do it is kind of backwards here. So we just did a written reflection, technically, if you did your homework, and that will have the most urgent content, right? The chances are that it's top of mind, so that's what's most pressing. So I start populating my monthly log from my written reflection, right? Things will have come up in my written reflection, like what can I act on? So I will quickly create action points and migrate them into my monthly logs task list. After that, I will then go through my old monthly log, my daily logs, and my weekly log, and ask that same question for all the different tasks that remain open. And then finally, this is a question I get often, is like, how does the future log fit into all of this stuff? So the future log stores all the things that don't fit within the current month. And oftentimes the future log can be forgotten, but this is where the future log comes back into play. Each month we check the future log and see if anything in there has become relevant, and that also gets migrated. Again, even with the future log, you're asking yourself whether or not these things are responsibilities you still want to allow into your life or not. That is your choice. And if the answer is yes, then you migrate them. And if no, you allow yourself to let them go. Okay, let's take some time to migrate.
Ryder, could I add something really quick to that?
By all means.
When we talk about the filter, which is a super powerful way to, again, cultivate our task list, to cultivate the lives we want to live and align them closer to what our goals are. When we get to the consequences filter, I just want to add that we should also be checking that those consequences are real. Sometimes we imagine other people's disappointment, or that something will be held up if we don't do this in this timeline, or my friend will be so mad at me. But I recommend that you check what those assumptions are, and maybe you might be able to release some of those tasks or commitments that actually don't have as many consequences as you imagined from the beginning.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. I will leave this slide up. We're getting some questions in about the ritual graphics, so I'm going to quickly explain what's going on here. The M stands for the monthly log. The day, or D, M stands for monthly log. D stands for daily log. Week, or W, stands for weekly log. So this is kind of to visualize a month inside the bullet journal method. This is also a really great time for you to break down larger projects or things that you've kind of been kicking forward into much smaller actionable tasks. So if something continues to keep showing up on your to-do list over and over and over again, or remaining undone, I should say, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to think about, how can I make this more manageable? Simply by breaking it down into smaller tasks. Part of the opportunity of rewriting something is that not only are we recommitting to our responsibilities, but also we have a chance to redesign them. Okay, we're going to take a few more minutes here.
Ryder, will you talk about migrating projects from month to month?
Yep, most certainly will. Okay, so we're not entirely done yet with this. Now comes something really interesting, right? It might take you a while to populate your monthly logs task list, especially if this is the first time that you've done that. And that's okay. This is really part of the process. Because it takes time, it gives us an opportunity to think about what we're doing. And once we've thought about what we're doing, we have another opportunity to see it all side by side. And we can take this as our chance to prioritize what we've assigned ourselves for the month ahead. So once I'm done populating my task list, my monthly task list, I think about what my priority is. And usually that priority is related to my intention for my practice. For those of you who are new to bullet journaling is entirely fueled by your intentions, or I encourage people to have strong intentions going into this. And this is one of those opportunities where we can check in with our intention, because our intention can always get lost in the busyness of everyday life. And this is an opportunity for us to stop and think about, okay, how are my actions aligning with my values, with my beliefs? And we can use that to prioritize these things. I think one thing that I want to be very transparent about, the thing about bullet journal, the goal isn't to get everything done. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think it is possible, because we constantly get more and more stuff as time goes on. What we really want to focus on is figuring out how to invest our time in the things that are most meaningful to us, right? Or getting as much time back as we can, figuring out ways to take time. So this is a really great opportunity. So what I encourage you to do is just take a couple minutes and look at those lists. They're telling you the story of the life that you will live in a very real way. That's the thing about bullet journaling. This isn't just a bunch of stuff that we have to do. All of our tasks are experiences waiting to be born. Everything that we do becomes an experience. It becomes part of the story of our life. And we can take this time once a month to kind of think about this life that we're writing. And you can very quickly be like, I don't want this part to be a part of my story. And if you don't, excellent. What are you going to do about it? Right? This is a great time to think about, how am I going to get rid of this project? Or should this be delegated? Or is this something that I should be spending my time on at all? Right? This is not an opportunity to judge yourself or to criticize yourself. It's an opportunity to engage with your to-do list with curiosity, and an opportunity for you to course correct if necessary. That's it. So I'm going to take some time to just kind of think about that. What is my intention? What are my values? How are these actions that I'm about to take, these potential experiences, supporting those values? And again, if they're not, what can I do about that? Not everything that we work on feels meaningful to us. So this is a great opportunity for you to figure out a way to change course, or take action and take responsibility. And maybe you'll find that something's missing. Right? Like, wait, none of this is fun. That's important. What do you want to do this month that you're excited about, that has absolutely no productive value whatsoever? If that's missing, that's a sign too. This is the script that you're going to be playing out over the course of this month, more or less. And when you find things that really light you up, or you realize what's really urgent, then you can mark it with the priority signifier, basically an asterisk or a little star, depending, next to the task itself. Okay. To get to your question, Jessica. So the next thing you may notice is that some of this stuff that you're migrating doesn't really fit into the monthly log. It might actually be, you might realize that a bunch of the things that you've written down are actually related to one another, right? These disparate notes at the time have now kind of created a pattern. Maybe it's a project, personal project, a professional project, a short story idea, a script, something. Where does that stuff go? Well, during the monthly ritual, what we can do is we take this opportunity to do some housekeeping inside of our notebook. So in this case, what we can do is we can create custom collections that help us organize related content. This can be tasks as well as notes, right? So if you've been writing down a bunch of notes about this story idea, or in my case, a blog post, I'm like, oh, wait, now that I've been doing this migration, I can actually see the relationship between these ideas. And now I'm going to create a custom collection that's going to become the brainstorming workshop for an article that I might be writing. I use collections for anything, whether it be activity trackers, projects, anything that has multiple steps and is complicated, has complications, if you will. That's something that I create a custom collection for. So this is a great time for you to really do a lot of housekeeping inside your notebook and bring all those notes into one place. You would migrate the open tasks and the open notes or the relevant notes into this custom collection. But again, this is a really excellent opportunity to, even in that case, what is vital, what matters now? Because you might realize that you have a bunch of disparate notes that are related, but some of them kind of have timed out, their shelf life, they've expired. So this is a good time to kind of just take the best of the ideas, the best of the content, and bring it together inside a custom collection if you think that it's necessary. So this is a really excellent opportunity to funnel related thoughts into one place to create a custom collection, which leaves us with one more question. What happens to all the custom collections that already exist? So we have now gone through our monthly log, our previous monthly log, our weekly log, and our daily logs to see what is still worth our time, what value this content still adds. The same is true for our custom collections, for collections that we created to track something or create something in the past. We want to make sure that we are not trying to maintain collections that aren't adding any value to our life. Like, is that fitness tracker still relevant now that you broke your leg? Or is that project still something that you want to maintain even though you don't care about it anymore, right? Your situation has shifted. Oftentimes we can get so caught up in the busyness of our lives that we keep maintaining these things that actually aren't giving back to us anymore. They aren't adding value. And oftentimes we might feel we're obligated to kind of see it through for some reason. And I'm sure there are examples where that's the case, but most of the time I just feel like I'm doing it because I feel like I should for some reason. But if there's no more meaning behind it, if it's become meaningless for some reason, this is a great opportunity for you to stop and think about, how is this collection still adding value? Is it still adding value? There's a very specific way we can actually go about that. So in the monthly ritual, we can kind of do the same thing that we were doing with our tasks, but in this case, it gives us an opportunity to actually improve our bullet journal practice, right? The thing about the bullet journal, it's not anything, right? There's a very specific way of going about developing your own version. And this is kind of how we go about it. This is how I found. It's an iterative approach that helps us figure out what's working and what's not. So you have a custom collection and you ask yourself, is it helping? Yes. Okay, that's great, but how is it helping? What have you identified as being powerful for you? What's clicking here? And during your monthly ritual, you can ask yourself, okay, can I improve on that, right? Even if something's working, maybe there's an opportunity to make it even better. And if you can't improve on it, fine. You just keep on using what it is. But if you can, then you can iterate on a new version of that once a month if you like, right? We're trying to keep the amount that we write to an absolute minimum. So with the custom collection, if we ask, is it helping? And the answer is no, that's also a learning opportunity. Again, this is feedback. Rather than beating ourselves up, we can actually look into this and be like, why is this not working? Does it take too much time? Is it too illustrated? Is it too complicated? And then we take that information and then we can use it to iterate on something that's not working necessarily. Like maybe it's something that's important, but you haven't figured it out yet. So rather than throwing the whole thing out, you strip away what's not working and focus on maybe one element that was helpful. And then when you migrate, you can create a new custom collection based on that learning. So everything inside the bullet journal, I think the short version of this, everything that we're doing in the Bujo method is running experiments. And these experiments help us figure out what's working, what's not. What do we want more of? What do we want less of? That's true for our values, for the people around us, for our actions, but also for the way that we're organizing the book itself. All of these philosophies and all these techniques really apply to every part of this. So in short, this is a great time to think about your projects, think about how you're organizing your projects, what's working, what isn't. And then you can use the monthly ritual as a way to kind of restructure your projects, optimize, discard, and so on. And in this way, every month we're hopefully leveling up what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're treating ourselves in this process, right? We want to make sure that we're approaching all of this with curiosity rather than judgment, right? How can I do better? How can I take it more easy, or how can I have more fun, right? These are all these questions that become available to us because we're simply taking the moment to look at our notebook. I like to think of my bullet journal as a paper mirror that's reflecting my choices back at me and my thoughts and my feelings. And right now is a great opportunity to kind of spend some time there. Like, oh, this was a really hard month. Maybe I should do something about, the way I'm focusing on it, or how much I'm working on something, or how much time I'm spending with other people. And then taking that realization and putting it into action by creating a task, by creating an actionable step. This is how you turn insight into action. And that about sums up the monthly ritual. There are many different ways we can go about it, but this is pretty much the most systematic way I can think about doing this. So I'm just going to run through this slide deck really quickly again to sum it up before we take some questions. So the first thing we do is go backwards before we go forward. We update our timeline in order to jog our memory. Then we take that information and we write about what happened in the month gone by. Whatever it is that you want to write about, it's up to you, but kind of limiting it to a very specific span of time. Then you prepare for the next month. And you do that by filtering out all the things that are potentially going to be a demand on your attention. You start with the most urgent, which is the stuff that you reflected on most likely. Not always, but I found it to be true. Then you go through your monthly log, your daily logs, your weekly logs, see what tasks are still there, cross out the ones that no longer serve you, and focus on the ones that do. A wonderful time to recommit to your responsibilities. This is also a time to activate your future log, to think about the things that you had assigned to yourself way ahead of time and see whether or not you want that to become part of your life. For the things that don't fit into the monthly log, this is a great time to create a custom collection. A custom collection is simply a container for related data. This can be ideas, it can be tasks, notes, events, drawings, poems, whatever you want. You find patterns, you can organize them by grouping them together into custom collections. This is also a time for us to think about and optimize the tools that we're using to organize ourselves and to live a more intentional life. Right? That's a big part to think about how we're doing, what we're doing, and to make sure that what we're doing is meaningful and adds value. I think that's a good place to start taking questions.
So I want to throw it over to another team member, Raksha, who has been a rock star today, managing the YouTube live stream, and she's been picking out some questions to bring from the audience.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, everyone. I'm Raksha, a new member of the Bullet Journal team, so it's nice to see you all. And I have here some questions that have come through the YouTube chat, and a few of them resonated with a few different people, so I've picked out some of those. The first one is, and we have touched on this in the session, but I would love to know more about the weekly log. How is it different from the daily log, and how do you use it differently?
Sure. We actually published a YouTube video on the weekly log, so if you want to learn a little bit more about it, I recommend check it out there. But in short, the weekly log, the daily log, the weekly log, and the monthly log are all versions of one another. They just help us focus at finer resolutions, right? The daily log helps us focus on today. The weekly log helps us focus on the week, and the monthly log on the month. I find that it's always been very hard for me to focus at random time scales. So all of these different rituals help us focus. So the weekly log in short consists of a two-part template. On the left-hand part is a weekly reflection, written reflection. And on the right-hand side is a weekly task list. So kind of like the monthly log, but in this case, much shorter journal entry because it just focuses on a week. And usually I pick, like, how did this week go for me? Or if there's something in the week that I wanted to think about, I usually use one page. I have very dense handwriting, so that's all I really need. And it also limits the amount of time that it takes, which makes it sustainable for me. So that's one of the instances of regular long form journaling for me. And then on the right-hand side, I will take both the monthly log and the daily log task list and think about what it is that I want to get done in the week ahead. So it's not everything like the monthly log. It's just for the week, which helps me kind of think about time scales of my project as well. It gives me an opportunity to break them apart. So weekly written reflection, weekly task list. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. And another question from Handcrafter is, if I don't keep up with my daily journaling, does there come a point when too much time has elapsed that I couldn't backtrack effectively?
I know the feeling, but the answer is no. That's the beautiful thing about the Bujo practice, and this is something that was so important to me as I was creating this and formalizing it. I grew up with terrible learning disabilities, and regularity and consistency was just very difficult for me. So I didn't want to create something that would make me feel ashamed of myself all the time, which was the problem with a lot of the standard systems that I was using, right? There were always these gaps. And then when I hadn't been using it, that were the evidence of me being lazy, or so I thought. The whole point with the bullet journal is that it will always be ready for you whenever you're ready for it, right? There's no judgment there. It's just showing up when you can show up. And when you start realizing that that's possible and that it's allowed, it becomes so much more powerful. I definitely think that any effort you want to put into this is the thing that needs to be focused on, not all the time that has elapsed in my own life and in my own journey in this space. The idea of having to catch up has been such an obstacle for helping me make progress. I'm like, oh, I haven't done it for 3 days. Now I'm going to have to spend hours catching up and making sure all the details are there. And that's just not true. That's not true. You can write down whatever you want, whenever you want. And I think it's not about the times you don't show up. It's about the times that you do show up. And just knowing that you can show up any way you are is what makes this so beautiful. It'll wait for you.
Thank you. And our last question that I'm taking from YouTube is, From Rob Regis, and a few people said they had a similar issue. The professional side of my task list is massive, even after attempting to get it down to vital only, spinning a lot of plates. What would you recommend? Would you recommend project collections for managing this?
Yes, I definitely suggest having dedicated collections for projects. Otherwise, things can get way too complicated. I come from the agency space and I needed to create collections even for specific parts of a project, which is something you can use dedicated indexes for. And quickly, a dedicated index is an index that's dedicated to different collections related to the same project. So with, let's say, website relaunch, you have a collection for web design, for copywriting, for developers, for A/B testing, like all these things. So all those are smaller sub projects that have many moving parts, and all that can be collected in a dedicated collection. But yeah, use collections for projects just to keep you sane. Trying to mix them up in your daily logs can get overwhelming really quickly. And we have an article about dedicated collections as well and indexes. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. And there's been lots of positive comments. Everyone on YouTube has found this very, very helpful. So thank you, Ryder, and for the people on Zoom as well.
Thank you, Rasha. JC, do we have any questions from our Bujo U members? I think we have time for one or two.
What's cool is that people are answering each other's questions in the chat. So things are getting answered. We just want to clarify that you don't have to migrate every custom collection every month. Yes?
Oh, yeah, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I mean, my rule of thumb is that I don't like rewriting things. I'll be the first to admit that. So I only rewrite what needs to be rewritten. No, you don't want to rewrite custom collections. I guess to clarify, if a collection is not working, you can migrate it with the lessons that you've learned from what hasn't worked to start over again, or I would prefer just leave it behind if it's not doing anything. And when a collection that does work becomes full and you create a new instance of that collection later on, that's when you can iterate on it, to be clear. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, and even though this event was focused on a monthly ritual going from month to month, doing it at at any part of your year, I know some people do this quarterly and they'll review the past 3 or 4 months, or because we're in the middle of the year, you can just zoom this out, right? So flipping back to the past 6 months and noticing what it is that you did or didn't do and why that was, and using the same questions, the filter, the process, the reflections to inform how you want the script of the second half of this year to go. So taking some time to step out and zooming out from the busyness of your life and figuring out if the ship is going where you want it to go. This is the second time that we've done this event live for folks all over public, and we invite you to join us on Bujo U. It's a community where we're focused just on talking about bullet journaling, and we get to hang out with amazing people all over the world, and we talk about different topics. Next month, we're actually talking about collections. So if you want to join us for that, feel free. We also are having book club. We are talking about the bullet journal method, and we're reading sections throughout the summer. July, we're talking about the system section, so you can join us to talk more about the book, which is on sale on Amazon if you want your own copy of that on your e-reader. But learn more about all of these things. A lot of these images that you saw were from the course, and that is available on Bujo U as well. We are coming up on Bullet Journal Day in August, and we partner up with all of you to provide scholarships for that course. So for every 5 seats that get sold, 1 gets given to a community member. And so If you haven't done that, that's also a place where you can get involved. There's so many places to plug in. And if you're learning about all of these things, you can definitely get a lot of information on the Bullet Journal YouTube channel. Have I missed anything? I hope not, but we have a lot of fun stuff coming.
Thank you so much for that, Jessica. Yeah, Bullet Journal Day is going to be fun. We got some stuff in store, so stay tuned for that.
So much fun is coming. Join us next time. We are so grateful for all of you. This method is beautiful because of all the contributions that you make. And we will see you hopefully soon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for taking the time.